All right, welcome. Today, we're prying open the lid on the essential toolbox that every single person in business needs to understand. We're going to be talking about the invisible architecture of commerce. The documents that take a simple handshake and turn it into a promise the law will actually back up. So, what are these powerful tools? Let's dive in and find out. So, what is this invisible architecture? I mean, it's a great question, right? It's not just about having a great idea or a bunch of money. At its very core, business runs on trust. But, trust needs a blueprint. It needs to be built, it needs to be verified, and it absolutely needs to be protected. And that's exactly where these documents come in. They are the literal bricks and mortar of that trust. And yeah, that's the absolute best way to think about them. This isn't just boring paperwork we're talking about. These are powerful, specialized tools. Each one is designed for a very specific job, whether that's making a solid promise, managing a huge risk, or just setting the rules of the game. Okay, so let's start with the most fundamental challenge of all. How do two people or two companies make a promise that actually sticks? One that you can't just walk away from when you feel like it. This is where things get really interesting and the distinctions are super important. It all begins right here with something called an agreement. This is basically the meeting of the minds. It's you and me seeing eye to eye on something. I promise to do this, and in return, and this is key, you promise to do that. It's a two-way street. It's that essential first step, just a mutual understanding. But here's the game changer. An agreement becomes a contract the moment the law can step in and force you to keep your promise. So, get this, all contracts are agreements, but not all agreements are contracts. You and I agreeing to grab coffee, that's just an agreement. But you and I agreeing to sell your car for 10 grand, all written down and signed, boom, that's a contract. And check this out. This table lays out the differences perfectly. Just zero in on that bottom row, enforceability. A deed, which is often for big stuff like property, is always enforceable. A contract, well, by its very definition, is enforceable. But an agreement, it says not necessarily. And that little phrase, not necessarily, is everything. It's the key to understanding the whole pecking order of promises in the business world. All right, on to the next challenge. How does a big organization get important information out to hundreds, maybe thousands of people in a way that's official, consistent, and on the record? Well, you guessed it, there are specific tools for that too. So if you're a company and you need to tell all your employees about a new policy, you don't just send a group text, you issue a circular. It's the official, formal way to get information out to a specific group inside the organization. It makes sure everyone gets the exact same message straight from the source. It's all about clarity and consistency. Now, what's really cool here isn't just the steps themselves, but why they matter so much. This isn't some casual email. By naming who's issuing it, having a clear subject and a proper signature, you're literally building a chain of command and accountability right into the document. That formal structure is what gives it its official weight and makes sure people actually take it seriously. But what happens when you need to talk to the whole world? For those big external announcements, like a company's quarterly earnings or an official notice from a stock exchange, the tool for that job is a public notice. It's designed to inform the general public, and you'll usually see them in newspapers or on official websites. Okay, let's really raise the stakes now. We've talked about making promises and announcements, but what about managing massive financial risk? Especially when you're cutting a deal with partners you've never even met, who might be halfway around the world. How do you protect yourself? The first tool we've got is the tender. When a government wants to build, say, a new airport, they don't just call up a buddy. No way. They issue an invitation to tender, which invites companies to submit these formal, competitive, sealed bids. It's a whole structured process designed to guarantee fairness and get the best possible price. And this quote, wow, this is powerful. It really shows you how serious a tender is. When a court says something is in the realm of contract, they're telling you this isn't some casual invitation. This is step one in a legally binding dance. The rules they lay out in that tender document, those are the rules of the game, period. Now, let's talk about the ultimate tool for building trust across borders, the letter of credit, or LC. This was an absolutely revolutionary invention. Just imagine you're selling a shipment of goods to a company overseas you've never met. How on earth do you know you're going to get paid? An LC solves this whole problem. The buyer's bank basically guarantees your payment, but, and here's the magic part, only after you provide proof, like shipping documents, that you actually sent the goods. It completely replaces personal trust with cold, hard, bank-backed certainty. And this is what that bank-backed certainty actually looks like. It's a pretty complex web, and for good reason. Let's trace it real quick. It starts with the buyer, the applicant. Their bank, the issuing bank, creates the letter of credit. It then zips through this network of other banks, advising, confirming, until it reaches the seller's bank, guaranteeing payment once everything is shipped. It's not just a deal between two people. It's a secure financial highway built by multiple banks, all working together to create a chain of trust that can stretch across the entire planet. This is literally the engine that powers global trade. So, to boil it all down, the crucial difference is this. A letter of credit is all about securing the payment. A bank guarantee is about securing the performance. A guarantee is basically an assurance that if a contractor flakes out and doesn't finish a project, the bank will pay a penalty. So, one secures the money, the other secures the work. Simple as that. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time looking at how you make deals with outsiders. But what about the tools for setting the rules inside an organization? I mean, how does a company or a society actually govern itself day to day? Well, the main tool for this job is a set of bylaws. The best way to think about them is as the internal rulebook, or even the constitution for an organization like a co-op, a stock exchange, or maybe a professional society. They lay out all the fundamental rules for how the place runs, how you become a member, and how major decisions get made. And for more industrial-type workplaces, there's a really specific tool called standing orders. These documents put the conditions of employment down in black and white. They cover everything from working hours and holidays to how disciplinary action works, creating a really clear, fair, and legally binding framework for both the management and the workers. So let's bring this all home. We've looked at all these different tools for making promises, for communicating, for managing risk, and for setting internal rules. We've pretty much filled up our toolbox. And honestly, this is the most important thing to remember. These documents are the gears and levers of the entire business machine. If you understand them, you understand how to build things with confidence, how to protect yourself, and really how to operate effectively in pretty much any commercial environment. I mean, think about it. In just the last few minutes, we've touched on over a dozen different business documents. From a simple agreement all the way up to a complex letter of credit, each one is a highly specialized tool, perfectly designed to solve a critical business problem. And that really is the question, isn't it? Knowing this stuff is one thing, but using it is everything. We've just stocked your toolbox with some of the most powerful instruments in the world of commerce. So the only question left is, what are you going to build? Thanks for digging into this with me.